Hi, it's Alexis.
And Christian from Tiny House Expedition. And we built our tiny house way back in 2014.
With the help of friends and family, over 9 months of ups and downs and trial and error, it was all worth it in the end.
We built a cozy custom home of our own that led us to an adventure of a lifetime. And now we're working on a shuttle bus conversion.
In our DIY Tiny Home Build Stories series, we hope to inspire and empower you to take on your own build by yourself or with help.
I needed help. I definitely needed help.
Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Rachel, and this is our DIY tiny house in the beautiful mountains of Santa Cruz, California.
Build, we started in June, so I drove my Tundra down to Los Angeles to Carson Trailer and picked up the trailer that the house is on and drove it back. And then I had to get my Class A license, thinking that I would actually haul this thing myself. And then we took it to my shop where I work. And from June, we worked on it every evening and every weekend. It was very exhausting. I put a lot of hours, a lot of late night hours into it, but we had moved it here in October of that same year. So it was about 5 months to get the outer shell done and to get the bulk of the inside done. And then once we got it on site, we obviously had to do all the exterior, the decking, the fencing, the garage, but we also had a lot of things to finish on the inside.
Yeah.
We had our appliances delivered here, so they weren't in the property when we moved it. We put the flooring in. We actually changed the stairs a few times. We had just big old plywood stairs for a while. Different setups for the dog beds. Didn't have a door on our bathroom. In fact, the first night we moved the trailer on here, we had to put the toilet in because we hadn't installed the toilet yet. So that was a late night push to get that done. A lot of motivation there.
Just over time, I think we spent probably, after we moved it here, about a year to fully finish the inside. So like painting and kind of figuring out what works, because we have all the ideas of like how we think the house is going to work for us when we were building it. But I don't think until we truly were living in the house full time did we finally actually understand the space that we were in and what worked for us and what didn't. So I want to say majority of the space that we were kind of planning on what it was going to be like worked. But then there was a few things that we just found ourselves needing to adjust. We were like, oh, this doesn't really work now that we're in the space. What can we do to make it a little bit better? And, the one nice thing about when you do build your own house is you have that ability to adjust or change things to accommodate what you think works or what will work for us.
Discoveries.
Yeah, so there was a few things that we adjusted after we had moved here, but it took us about a year, I think, to finalize the house totally.
The first 5 months we were working diligently, so it was like every night, every weekend. But then once we moved it here, we worked pretty steady for the first month to get it livable enough. And then after that, it was, okay, well, we want to go do something fun this weekend. We're not going to work on the house. So it wasn't nearly as strenuous.
Yes.
We started enjoying our life because being in this area, how could you not want to go out there and enjoy it?
Yeah.
So we definitely probably worked half time. So this is our transitionary space between our kitchen and our living room. We have our dog sleeping area here, our bunk beds, and these beautiful floating steps that lead up to our bedroom loft. And the other side's got the breakfast and dinner nook. I guess it could be a lunch nook on the weekends. One of the real reasons why we put these in these positions is to hide the wheel wells. We really wanted to mask the fact that we're on a trailer, hide those wheel wells, but still utilize them where we could. So this does a great job. Over here, the bunk beds are built right on top of them. And on this side, one of my favorite parts is that we can put our feet up on the wheel well on this side when you're sitting at the stools. And then just here at the end of the counter, we took a couple wine racks and repurposed them into shoe cubbies, because space in a tiny house is always at a premium. So this does a great job of utilizing a little bit of extra space. My building experience is pretty varied. It started when I was a young boy at my family home. My dad liked to do remodel projects at the house. And then when I went to college, like I said, I didn't really know that you could make a living at theater. So I went in for something completely different, and then a good friend pulled me into the theater program, which I started again with lighting and very quickly realized I was more focused on being a technical director, which is managing all the construction. So I've been a technical director in theater since 1999. Which is too many years to count at this point. And I also had a little stint in construction work at hospitals down in Texas in between when I was first starting my career, in between theater jobs. So I put in elevator shafts, I've done high steel work, I've done steel stud construction, drywalling, kind of the gamut of everything. So when this project came around, it was literally the perfect marriage of everything I had ever done in my past.
So, being a registered veterinary technician, I have zero building skills. Zero. So, everything was kind of like a learning curve for me, and it was a challenge, I will say. John has a big background in construction, and he was very helpful in helping me kind of understand like how to build things, but pretty much everything that I was exposed to building this house, I was doing it for the first time. And, there was just kind of like this learning curve, and then I'd figure it out. And I always like to say that, there's a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears in this house. And I mean, literally. Yeah. And most of it was mine. YouTube helped me learn how to put in windows. I am grateful for that. I was tasked with putting in all the windows, so I had to learn how to prepare the windows and put them in. And so that was, I think, my blessing and a curse that John put me on. He goes, if you want 18 windows in this house, you're putting them in. So that was fun.
Yeah, the original drawing that I did, I think it had 8. We had 8 windows and then the French doors. Mm-hmm. And then as the design kept going, I think her question was, why can't we have more windows? Mm-hmm. Or why can't we have that many windows? Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a good reason why not. So we have 18 windows.
So we put as much windows as we could to still allow the house to still be structurally strong. So
right.
If there was an empty spot, I was like, can a window go there? And he goes, yes.
Yeah, so if anybody out there is interested in building their own tiny house, I would say kind of follow our model where we stayed in several tiny houses prior to. I mean, we obviously watched all the YouTube stations and videos, and we got a little literature about it, and we worked through that quite a bit, but physically renting a tiny or staying in somebody else's tiny for at least a day really shows you a lot and really kind of solidifies your opinion about certain things. A lot of the design concepts in here were modified by 2 tiny houses that we stayed in prior to starting our design build. And then I think the other thing would be, I did the design with Rachel's help, but I did the computer 3D drafting for this. And even with the 3D drafting, we wound up needing to do some physical mock-ups of certain things, especially the kitchen.
For me, yeah.
So don't be afraid to take a little time, even if you just go to a big box store and start moving around some of their furniture pieces or whatnot. Just set up a little area that is mocking up what you were thinking about and just experience it to see is that enough room between your counter and your fridge? Is the stove going to work there if you put your sink over here? We did build a second tiny house. It's much smaller. It's about half the size. It's a 20-foot trailer, still the 8'6" wide and the 13'6" tall, single loft. We originally were going to build it as an Airbnb, but we finished it in February of 2020, the month before the pandemic hit and Airbnb closed everything down. It was mostly a recycled tiny house. We did a lot of Craigslist searching for materials for it. It was at least 60% recycled, just items that we had found from people just donating them up. And we just, after 2 years of it sitting there, we decided it was time to let it go. We built that one a little differently than this one because it was going to be a rental property. We didn't put in the full kitchen. We didn't do some of the factors. We put in a standard toilet thinking that we'd hook it up to a septic system. So it's built a little differently. And because the materials that were available, we had to adjust the build to just fit the materials that we had gotten cabinets. We had to adjust the kitchen to fit the cabinets. So there wasn't a lot of overall design. We kind of had a concept for what we wanted to do, and we let the materials kind of guide us. And because we had already been living in this tiny house for years, we could just, it felt more comfortable to just kind of build it as we thought about it and put it together. So.
Yeah. And I think it was a little bit easier for us to build because we kind of already went through a learning curve with this house. So when it did come to time of like installing stuff or designing, you know, decorating on the inside, it felt a little bit easier to manage in a sense. Yeah. I think the most rewarding is the fact that we did it ourselves. You know, I still find myself in this house and just looking around and just being like, I can't believe we built this. It's just a wild concept because I never thought that I could ever physically do something like this. So there's so much pride that goes into this house, knowing that every square inch of this place we installed, you know, every nail, every screw, every bracket, we put that energy and we did it ourselves. And it's just amazing. Like, I'm still just like, how did we do that?
For me, I think the biggest thing that I'm proudest about this house is actually our relationship. We were fairly new together.
We were first year of marriage we built this house.
And it was definitely a test of our marriage to build this house together. But, you know, we grew so much. I'm getting goosebumps again. We grew so much doing this together that, I mean, I look at other people's relationships, I look at my past relationships, and I don't have nearly as strong of a bond with anyone else as I do with my wife, because I think in part we went through this journey together.
I think also too for me was, you know, if we were able to build this house together and live in a space as tiny and still be affectionate with each other, I mean, that says a lot about our relationship. I know that you know, we can get through anything. I mean, any kind of challenge or obstacle that's thrown in front of us, I know we can figure out and get through it. And I think it was just, you know, kind of like the icing on the cake when we got through this. I realized, like, I did marry my lifelong partner. Like, this is a guy that I can spend every last waking moment with, and
most of them happy.
Yes. And so I think also on top of building this house, I think it was also a statement of showing like our relationship and that we really are a genuine, you know, we have a genuine bond that we can really, you know, have a lifelong life together with. So.
Hey, it's Alexis again.
And Christian from Tiny House Expedition. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And to watch the full tour of the DIY tiny home you just learned about, click over here.